Welcome to the event. We're really happy that you're here. We're about to go live in just a few moments, but before we lift off, there's a few important things we want to make sure that you're aware of so you get the best possible experience out of this. First of all, the sound current is supremely important to us, the musical experience. So if possible, we really encourage you to use good speakers or headphones to experience the class with. Second, if you have any pre-existing injuries, please take care of yourself, modify as you need to. Don't risk exacerbating an injury because of a yoga exercise. If you have any pre-existing medical conditions and you're not quite sure if this would be good for you, please consult with your primary healthcare practitioner and make sure it's the right thing for you. Also, make yourself relatively comfortable. You can use a cushion, and in fact, we encourage you in our seated positions, meditation practices, to use a cushion. It helps lift the heart up, keep the spine straight, and it's more ideal for the flow of energy in the body and for the meditation experience. You can even be sitting in a chair with feet flat on the floor for those of you that are unable to sit in a meditative sitting posture on the floor. Just use a chair, and for many of the exercises, that will work perfectly fine. And then lastly, if you're having any problems with the video streaming, try refreshing the page, or if you see a gear icon on the video, adjust your resolution. If you're new to this type of thing, just take care of yourself. If there's something that you don't quite understand, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Everything that needs to click will click after a few times of trying it out. Enjoy the experience. We're about to get started in just a moment. Welcome. Hi, everyone. Good to be here with you. To all our old friends who were getting together once again, and to all the new friends here, it's so nice to be here with everyone. Thanks for taking a little bit of time to share this experience and share this space with us. One thing we've definitely learned over the last couple of years is that you definitely can create a space working in this way. We've known that for actually a long time. Life Force Academy, we were doing this type of thing years and years before the pandemic happened. And it became apparent to me pretty much right away when teaching even in an online medium that there's definitely a collective space that is formed, that's palpable, that you can feel. I'm even tired in a similar way after teaching some of these, like I am when I'm tired when you have a really big group of people. Not like a physical tired, but there's just like an energetic, just type of decompression that needs to take place. That is the same thing I experience when with a large group of people in person. So definitely we're creating a type of global community in these moments. And that's really cool and really precious opportunity to come together and to do good work together and to take care of ourselves, to uplift ourselves intentionally. When we do that together, it has an exponentially helpful effect. Because that's what we are as living beings. We're together. We're already together all the time. What we do in our life vibrates into the web of life, and it affects everything and everyone at some whatever micro subtle level or whatever it is. Whatever it is totally mysterious. But definitely we know that's the case, and the ancients have always known that that's the case all across the board, across the globe. All of them understood the subtle, mysterious network of life, that all living things are intertwined and connected into, and that there's an intelligence that flows through it. There's a love intelligence that
is flows through it may not even be the right term. It's like it is love, intelligence, the whole thing. At the center of us, we could say the same thing. Because we are that. And the nucleus of us is love, intelligence. That's the insight of the yogis. So the yogic practices are not self-improvement, really. I'm not so sure that's an accurate semantic, because it's much more about purifying away the obstructions to your true being, to your true intelligence, to your true state of goodness, which is love. And so if we know that our original state is not tainted, because we have all sorts of conditions in our life that have hypnotized us to believe that our basic nature is tainted, and so we're insecure. But actually our basic nature is intelligence and love, which creates goodness. And so then it becomes our job, and that's what the journey of the yogi is all about, is to not only discover that goodness through our own experience of ourselves and others, but it's to help it to really blossom in our life. Help it to, it's not a short process, it's a long lifetime journey of continuing to blossom and bloom. And that's how we sustain our joy and have more lasting happiness and more lasting love and devotion, is by staying engaged in the process of blossoming. That's very different than this idea of self-improvement, which is maybe more of a masculine kind of way about it. But if you're going to blossom like a flower, it's helping you to grow via your feminine, which is very much what the whole planet and all the psyches that make up this biosphere of life. This is what is, I believe, and I'm certainly not alone in this belief, that is what is already endeavoring and coming alive in all the areas of our life. And there's certain things about how we've been living on this planet and in our society for long periods of time now that are crumbling at their foundation. And so that's hard. It's also growth and evolution, but that doesn't make it easy. So when our lives are transforming and changing so profoundly, it's definitely going to be hard. But there is something even more glorious that is going to grow out of that soil. And so if we can embrace that process, it allows us to go through it with more ease. So we don't lose track of our happiness, we don't lose track of our joy, even though things are hard for a lot of us. And if you're living on planet Earth, it's not just like things are hard for a lot of us because we've gone through the pandemics and there's all this stuff, whatever it is, that we think is difficult right now. Take your pick. Life on planet Earth is that way. Point to a time in history that wasn't hard. You can't find one. But it's relatively so. So anyhow, this eclipse axis, with both the lunar eclipse this evening and then in 2 weeks the solar eclipse, is happening in the Vedic sidereal constellations of Taurus and Scorpio. And specifically this eclipse, this lunar eclipse this evening, is happening in the lunar mansion, the section of Taurus that is called Kritika Nakshatra. And Kritika Nakshatra has the Shakti, or the power, to purify. It's a fiery nakshatra, actually. And that's interesting, right? Because you don't necessarily think of Taurus in that way, but this nakshatra straddles Aries into Taurus. So it's the first section of Taurus. And why that's perhaps important and interesting is that this is a good time for purifying things away that are no longer serving us in our life, and to use the energy, because that's what nature is wanting anyways. And so part of good yoga practice is just tuning into what is wishing to come alive in me right now, and what is really needing to be shed away. And to do practices like this that really get you into your body and get your nervous system nice and strong and help to balance the glandular system. You know what happens when your nervous system gets really strong and your glandular system starts to balance? You'll feel safe in your body. Because you'll feel like you more so. And then when you feel safe, then you can just allow your heart to soften, the mind to be more intuitive. And wow, life is way more enjoyable living from that type of disposition, for sure. But it's not that easy, because we have all our traumas and we have all our stresses, and we're just human beings trying to figure it out, simple people. We also have to make breakfast and then figure out what we're going to eat for lunch. It's not like we can only focus on these types of practices. We have to take care of our kids. We have our fucking jobs, whatever it may be. There's all sorts of things that we do. And so that's the importance, in my opinion, of having some sort of what we say sadhana, or some sort of consistency of a practice. Because the only way we truly prioritize anything in our life is by actually giving time and space to it. You can say you prioritize your mind, but is there an hour a day where you're taking care of the mind on a regular basis? Or at least once or twice a week? This is what yoga practice is all about, taking care of our mind. We're taking care of the body and the mind because they're one and the same. The tissue layers, this is the wisdom of yoga. The tissue layers is the inner terrain, or your substratum for the psyche. Your skin, your muscles, your blood, your plasma, the sexual reproductive tissues, the marrow in the bone tissue itself, the nervous system. Every tissue layer of the human organism has a psychological field. If your blood gets too anemic, you will not feel passion for life. If you have good, nice, healthy, vital blood, you'll feel more passion for life. This is the psyche. It's simple. But it's not, we understand it at the level of the blood and even of the rasa, the watery juices, because if you don't have enough hydration, you feel lackluster. You feel dissatisfied. When you have good hydration, the effect is called pranayana. And pranayana means you feel satisfaction. You feel the juice of satisfaction. The marrow in your bone and the nerve tissue is called maja. And that has the shakti of deeper fulfillment, not just kind of more superficial satisfaction, but the fulfillment that comes from really being aligned with the dharma energy of your life, the purposeful energy of your life. That's the fulfillment at the level of maja, the nerve tissue, and the marrow, and the brain tissue is included, of course, because maja means that which fills empty spaces. So this is your nervous system. It's not just physical in nature. Once again, I like the word hypnotic because I think it's accurate into how a lot of this works. We become hypnotically convinced that the material part of reality is the supreme reality because we can see it and touch it. And so if we can't see it and touch it, then it's not as real. It's inferior because maybe we can't prove it in our current scientific models. But more and more we can. The quantum physicists have been doing it a long time. And so that's really exciting type of work, especially for people who dig that type of stuff, because it helps us to understand more deeply when we can show it from many different perspectives and angles. But it's no news to the yogis. Is the whole reality becomes is that actually the more subtle something is, the more real it is, because it's the subtle nature that changes less. And the physical nature is changing all the time. In fact, 365 days from now, none of us will have the same cells that make up our body as we have right now. Everything will have changed, except it will look pretty much the same. Isn't that interesting? So there must be some sort of energetic, intelligent template there that then is giving information to cell division, cell development, etc. As otherwise, like you have a disease this year, that disease would be gone next year. But no, there's something deeper in it that's more subtle than the material level of the body. And this is what we discover by all right, you go through one layer, and then it goes to the next layer, and next we start to understand things. So the more that we feel established in our own subtle nature, the more that we will feel confidently ourselves, because our happiness will not be as dependent on the ups and downs of our life, on whether the relationship is blossoming or it's withering away, on whether your body is totally healthy or you're dealing with some sort of sickness, dis-ease of the body. A lot of us are. So should our happiness be stripped away? But our body will benefit from our happiness. So if we can discover ways, and this isn't like pseudo-positivity. It's not superficial positivity. It's all good. It's not that. It's actually not positivity or negativity. By accessing our subtlety, we create a neutralization of the psyche, which allows us to dwell more deeply in our heart. And that's how we feel happy. Not because we're convinced this particular thing will happen and this particular thing won't happen. We don't know. It's wonder and it's mystery. So that's what's so cool about an eclipse, is it's totally mysterious and mystical and interesting. Eclipses happen from the two nodes of the moon. We say the north node and the south node in the Vedic astrology is Rahu and Ketu. The head of the dragon or snake and the tail. And Ketu is represented more like a disembodied, a body with no head, a yogi with no head. And Rahu is the head with no body. And there's all sorts of mythology that's very rich and wonderful about Rahu and Ketu. That's for another time. But what Rahu and Ketu definitely do bring is an unsettled energy. And eclipses bring an unsettled energy. There's a type of thinning of the veils during an eclipse, which is why it's very well known in the universe of yoga practice and mystical practices, that doing some sort of sadhana, some sort of practice during the time of an eclipse is quite powerful and quite you get more bang for your buck, so to speak, is the basic idea. Is that, wow, if you ever have, a lot of us who are kind of serious practitioners will get up early in the morning and do our practice in the 1 to 2 hours before the sunrise until the 1 to 2 hours after the sunrise. It's called the Amrita Vela. So that's a little bit what the eclipse is like, is it creates its own form of kind of Amrit Vela. It creates this kind of in-between space. Once again, between the positive and the negative, between the feminine and the masculine. And that's where the veil's thin. And so if you've practiced early in the morning like that, you know it's way easier to go deep meditative at that time than it is, say, at like 10:30 a.m. 9:30 a.m. when the sun's already come up here. So there's definitely energetics to all of this. But if we're not paying attention to the subtleties of life, we're just been hypnotically, seduced by just the material part of life. If it's not loud and obvious and in my face, I don't even know it exists. You might not notice anything about an eclipse. But if you actually are working with your life force, and therefore working with your magnetism, and working to develop and express your subtle qualities don't die. So the more you become intimate with your subtle qualities, the more the fear of dying will start to dissipate some, because you'll be dwelling in a space within yourself that you can feel viscerally that it has an infinity of its nature. It doesn't die. So if we develop compassion, for instance, but more impartial compassion, not just I feel compassion for my dog, or I feel compassion for my friend, but that I can feel compassion even when my enemy is in suffering, that I still feel compassion and love. Well, that would be a more subtle cultivation of compassion, arousing what we say, the deeper heart of compassion, the Buddhists call the bodhicitta. That's a subtle quality that we're cultivating. It's not that we're grabbing it from somewhere else and bringing it into us. It's already there. We're just purifying away that which is obstructing our more boundless love, our less biased love. And those are what is being purified away are subconscious mental patterns that are conditioned to love with more limits. But bodhicitta is not just compassion. Bodhicitta is wisdom and compassion together. Because if it's just the compassion without wisdom, it ends up being codependency, for instance. So we need the wisdom to where we create the container and thus boundaries of our life. We only have so many breaths here. And then so we can feel safe, to soften our hearts and to be friendly with one another. The solar eclipse that's happening 2 weeks from today is happening in the lunar mansion of Anuradha Nakshatra, the other Radha, like Radha and Krishna. And so it's a section of Scorpio. It's really cool because you might just think of Scorpio as this. But which section of Scorpio is it in? And this section of Scorpio is Anuradha is intensely, it's still Scorpio. Intense is still there. It's intensely devotional. And it's all about divine friendship. In the ancient times, friendship's considered the highest quality, the greatest quality. Friendship is a subtle quality. Especially when the practice is not just friendship based on who you're magnetically attracted to versus who you're magnetically not attracted to, but it's the practice of becoming a divine friend yourself. You're going to need wisdom to do that, because you can't give away all your life force, but there's another way to do it. It's arousing deep love inside of ourselves, and also creating the energetic and physical conditions that help it. It's good, healthy nervous system, nice, balanced glandular system, etc. Then, so I think that's significant that we have, first you have the nakshatra of Agni, of purification, fire and purification. And then if you go 180 degrees opposite from in the sky, you'll get to Anuradha. You'll get to that Scorpio nakshatra of great devotion and divine friendship. What does our world need right now more than divine friendship? We have stopped being friends with each other. We have created great divisive energies of us and them, and all of us have done it in all sorts of different directions. This isn't about any one group. This is, and this, as long as we're thinking about it as pointing fingers at any one group, that's the divisive energy in and of itself. I'm not saying we don't have opinions. I'm not saying we don't stand for something. We do. And each of us gets to determine that for ourselves. I'm not saying that. But we should not destroy each other. And therefore, we can definitely be friends, regardless of our differences of opinions. But if we're going to actually do that, we have to cultivate the divine energy of friendliness that has less biases, that has less conditions that it relies on in order for our friendliness to exist. What's more blissful? Being a friend to all? Sometimes a friend will tell you what's up. Your good friends will really tell you what's up. Best friends will not be yes people to you. Best friends will be honest. And they'll tell us when they think, yeah, man, I don't think you should do that. I think that might, whatever. They'll deliver hard truths to us. That's a friend. And because why will a real friend be able to deliver a hard truth to us? Because there's safe space for it in a true friendship. So what if we could find a way within ourselves? I'm not talking on society. I'm talking about, first of all, I'm talking about myself, and then also encouraging us as a collective. What if we can find a way to really take on the practice of divine friendship? And that means, well, we would be taken on the path of continuing to blossom in our emotional maturation, because we can be able to sit in difficult emotional energy, which is what Scorpio folks are fantastic at, actually. Sit inside difficult emotional energy without being pummeled by it, or without being excessively triggered by it. Well, at first it's like, whoa, it's hard to do, and you don't feel as capable. But if you take it on as like, this is something I practice, you think of it more like that. The term for that in yoga is niyama. It's a devotional practice. To when the triggers come, when I start feeling like I'm pummeled, then I remember it. And I remember that I'm practicing. Let me be a solution here. But it's also selfish in a healthy way, because it's also, I'm trying to live blissfully and happily myself. So another way of saying it, let me not take the miserable route here. And let me love myself enough to choose to be kind and friendly, and to extend the warmth of my heart to others. That doesn't always need a boundary, because there's no scarcity to the warmth of our hearts. That well doesn't dry up. But there's all sorts of ways to do it. You can do it with a prayer within the silence of your own heart. It doesn't have to be something that consumes our life force, like having a conversation with someone for some reason, for whatever purpose. It's like, no way, I'm not having a conversation with that person. But that doesn't mean that there's not a connectivity of love that is there for you. You see? Because it's an interconnected web. So when you're connected into subtlety, there's so many more options for how you can hold the relationships towards the others in your life, and also your relationship with yourself. Your prayers are real. Your warmth of your heart is real. If you're not, like, prayer is not something that you think of, or is something that you relate to. Some of us definitely it does, and others not as much, but warmth of the heart. And we can all relate to that. And we can all relate to stingy energy of the heart. And that's okay. If we find ourselves doing that, we may recognize, that's just how I'm going to be right now. And sometimes that's real. And in that case, then we don't feel guilty about it or bad about it. We feel compassion for our own predicament. And for our own, and that's why we can say, you know what, I'm just going to be that way right now. Sometimes that's just real. It's not creating spiritual pretentiousness. And so in both cases, it's love, compassion on both sides of that. But sometimes we feel, well, I shouldn't feel compassion. I shouldn't feel good about that because I'll keep doing it. Nah, you won't. The more you practice compassion with yourself, the more that compassion will start to purify away the suffering qualities, the suffering thought patterns, the suffering emotive patterns, by softening it. You know how like sometimes if you have congestion in your respiratory system, there's two types of what they call expectorants, types of herbal medicines that remove mucus from your respiratory system. One is like purifiers, like Kritika, like clove and black pepper and ginger and that type of stuff. And then the second type of expectorants is demulcents, and that's more like licorice root and slippery elm and shatavari. And they remove the mucus by softening it. So that's what sometimes we're gonna purify tonight. We're gonna use purifying energy. We're gonna move our bodies. It's gonna feel great. But we don't want to just have that route. And sometimes we get a little bit caught up more in that masculine route. We also want to practice softening, feeling more and more compassion for ourselves. And we can all do that from wherever we currently are. There's never too much of it. And so it's always a dance of the polarities. And the more we're able to just skillfully dance, it's not about keeping them in balance all the time. It's allowing this one to come up when it wants to come up and give a healthy expression to that. And then allowing that to balance back and allowing this one to come up when it wants to come up and giving a healthy balance to that. And then all of a sudden we're better at communicating because we're operating with kind of more gears essentially. And we're better at kind of navigating our life because once again, you know how to put it into that gear, you know how to pull it back into this. You know how to bring your warrior energy up when need be. And you know how to flow like Venus. And you know how to be an artist when that's the moment. And you know how to soften and receive. And you know how to give. And you know how to lend a hand. And nature will help guide all of this. That's why it's so cool to pay attention to the stars and the planets, because it gives you clues. That's all it is. So we're not saying, all right, the eclipse happens right here, this is what's going to happen. It's like, no, whoa, cool, fascinating. I wonder what it's going to be like. I wonder what it's going to feel like. Here's what the energies of these are. We know that to be true. But how that expresses itself in each of our lives is always going to be a mystery and always going to surprise us. And that's what's cool about it. Okay, let's tune in. Those of you brand new to this Kundalini yoga practices, if you've never done it before, just try to have fun. Don't worry about the formalities if you're not familiar with them. Join in as much as you can and want to. And then we're going to do the exercises. It all kind of just works out. And if it really resonates more deeply with you, then there's lots of opportunity to learn everything you want to learn. Inhale deep. Exhale. Gurudev Namo. Come on the hands and knees. We'll start working with the cerebrospinal system, making the spine nice and supple. You put the breath into the body, you'll start to feel great. Hands, fingers spread wide. You can feel even like you're pushing a little gently into the earth. You're inhaling, the head is coming up. Exhaling, the head is coming down. And it's a nice smooth rhythm. You put the breath into the body. Go at your own pace. Another 90 seconds of this. So you're just generating some rhythm now. It's not about stretching really. It's a little bit that, but that's just the first little part. Create a rhythm with your breathing. And as you continue, the channels start to open, the breath can be deeper. Really opening up both the pranic life force subtle channels as well as the channels of respiration. Is to purify using the breath and then softening through the heart. Using this eclipse time to bring us out of our lethargy and out of our poor me kind of pity parties that we tend to fall into sometimes. Use the breath and really elevate yourself. And inhale deep, head is up. And then exhale, head is down. And then relax the forehead down to the floor, the butt back to the heels. Relax the palms together or by the sides. Relax the mind and your jaw and your tongue relax. And your chest relax. Just for a few moments, relax. Come, inhale, make your way up back to sitting easy pose, cross-legged. A lot of these you can also do on a chair if that makes it work better for you. Your hands in Gyan Mudra, index finger seals to your thumb, palms facing up. And in a moment you'll inhale and it'll begin through the nose like a so it'll be exhale and inhale through the nose in an equal rhythm, like just give it a try. Lift through your heart, chest out, and gives room for the navel. It's a rhythmic, meditative breath of fire. Make a gentle lifting of your pelvic floor as you continue. With every exhale, the navel draws in, and it creates like a percussive rhythm. Now inhale through the nose very deeply. Suspend your breath in. Relax the chest, keep the breath in. Now lift through pelvic floor, rectum, sex organ, and then navel up and in. And neutralize, spacious, and relaxed of the mind. And exhale. Beautiful. Now this time, the tongue comes out in the same breath, but it's like a panting breath, okay? It's gonna stimulate the thymus gland, immune intelligence, fantastic for the immune system. Tongue comes out. See if you can keep the shoulders back and chest out. See if you can relax the mind and draw your gaze in a relaxed fashion into the third eye area, the space generally between the two eyebrows, at the root of the nose where it meets your skull bone. Inhale deeply. And good. And keep the breath in. Press the under tongue, upper palate of your mouth. Then gently squeeze your spine. Through the nose, exhale. Again, inhale deeply. Under tongue, press against the roof of your mouth, underside of your tongue. That'll put a little pressure on pituitary gland, frontal lobe. the master of the endocrines. Then exhale. Then inhale deeply. Suspension of the breath. And then tighten the spine. Let the shoulder blades release. Under tongue, upper palate. And exhale. So over time in the Kundalini Yoga practice, even when you're saying, okay, tense the body, like tense the spine, lift the mulabandha, there's places that we also simultaneously softening. First and foremost, the mind itself. Soften, relax the mind. Sometimes we're just, we're just trying to get by, and we're gonna power through whatever we need to power through, and sometimes that is helpful, but we just don't want that to be the default way that we practice. Sometimes it becomes a default way that people practice, a little bit aggressive in nature, and so we want to make sure we're always, even when we're tighten the body, sometimes we say till it shakes. I also still want the heart to soften, and I want my mind to be relaxed, relatively speaking, within that environment. Or I want to endeavor for that. And I don't have some particular goal of what I'm trying to experience by that. I'm generally working to bring my life force well concentrated in the central nervous system, so I get the balance of the glands and the more vitality of the kind of neuroelectricity of the body. And so therefore that things are firing well, and I can really feel like in my life I'm representing the real me and not getting kind of overtaken by other things that are maybe a little more part of ego desires and manipulations and all the little subtle things that we do as human beings with very complex human minds. And so, it's nice to simplify it and not be always too much psychoanalysis of ourselves, but to just appreciate who we are as we are right now. That's how we heal. That's how we continue to heal. Yes, of course, it's good to understand. It's good to analyze, but within time and space. Not as a habit, because what you already are is fantastically beautiful, wise, deserving of everything that happiness brings. And so let's make sure that we're making space for that in our life, and that we're using the sadhanas for that too. Okay, hands on your ankles or your shins. And it'll be like this. Spinal flex, yeah? Make sure you're right on your sit bones, and you're going to be lifting through your sternum. It's not just forward back, but it's a lifting of your heart. And it goes like... You see there's a gentle lift of the pelvic floor that stays there the whole time. Then you lift through your sternum. And then we really put your breath into it. You give it a deep rhythm of the breath. It's a love affair, deeply breathing.
All I'm thinking, always thinking, even 100,000 times. Still we're thinking, always thinking, but a solution can't be found. Meditation, deep meditation, deep as we could ever go. In meditation forever, quiet peace cannot be found.
Good, keep going. Another 60 seconds. Find a rhythm and a groove, and it's a love yourself moment.
It's to set your intentions. What in this eclipse season, how would you like to grow? What would you like to learn? How do you want to blossom? What would you like to let go of? And come alive inside of that.
And the hungry will stay hungry as they watch their food become the wealth of another, become the wealth of another. And all our cleverest ideas will still return when we meet there. And we return when we meet there. Where is the purity? Where is the purity in the labyrinth of force?
Inhale deep, suspending the breath, lifting the mulaband, rectum, sex organ, navel. Meditate the third eye, spaciousness of mind and heart. Exhale. Notice how hard it becomes to keep your concentration on the breath. Keep your concentration in the present moment. You know, Rahu represents the future. When Rahu is controlling your energy, it takes you into the future obsessively, what is going obsessively in the future called? Worry and anxiety. And Ketu is the past. And so what is when the past grabs a hold of you and overtakes you? What is that called? Depression. And so heaviness. So the more you can keep yourself as a practice, you're not going to be fully successful at it. That means you would be like a Buddha. But the more and more, little bit, baby steps, more consistently able to hold your presence. That's what that is. Presence is in the present moment. So the anchors you use in a yoga practice to do that. And the more you do it in the yoga practice, and the more your yoga practice is consistent, then that magnetic energy will flow into the rest of your life. You're going to be more present in the rest of your life, and that's attraction. And so therefore, the anchors we use, the breath, whatever the gaze may be, but then also putting the mind onto the breath with the use of the mantra. So all sorts of mantras to use. The mantra that's used predominantly in Kundalini Yoga, Sat is truth, Nam is name, or your deepest identity is what? It's reality, it's the truth. But not so important what it means. It's more about using those sound vibrations to help anchor the breath and the mind together. And those sound frequencies that are coming from, uttered and vibrated from highly enlightened beings help to purify the limiting obstructions of the mind and allow us to be more of ourselves. So when your hands are like so, and your mulabandha's pelvic floor is lifted up, and you can inhale left, exhale right, Sat, and you put the mantra onto your breath if you wish. Spinal twists. You can go any pace you wish, but most importantly is breathe with it, opening the heart, opening the spine channels. To the center, inhale deepest. Suspension of the breath, lift through the mulaband, softening of the heart, spaciousness of your mind.
Relax, exhale. Pretty good. We're making some progress. Hands on your knees. Inhaling up, exhale, just let them release. If that's too quick for you, do it halftime. Nah, sit, nah, sit, nah. Show halftime shy. Nah. Let gravity just let them release for you, you know? It's not a big deal enough. Just loosen up. Let the tension, upper body, shoulders, neck, upper back, and just clear away. Purify away the tension, you know? Purify it and soften. Open your heart and say, it's like, I only settle for nothing but real happiness and love. And all the things that I really believe in. Like good-heartedness, courage, inspiration. Speaking up for those who may not have the capacity to speak for themselves. Who are we? Inhale, squeeze up the shoulders. Release, exhale. Come standing. Index finger will come to your thumb on both hands. Palms will be facing forward. Heart will be lifted. The breath will be through the nose. When you inhale, the knees will come up to the level of the hip and the arms come up. As the exhale comes down, and then you go like that with the rhythm. Like a sit, nam, sit, nam, sit, nam, sit, nam. And you make sure your breath is deep, rhythmically substantive breathing. Get your lymph moving by getting your body moving. By all those lymph nodes in your under your armpits and in your upper part of your chest. Use the arms, use your prana, use your breath, use your body, use your mind.
Just a glance.
Inhale, stretch up. And good, release. And stretch your legs out wide. And bring your arms out to the sides. And make your fingers nice and firm. And then make your legs nice and strong. And inhale very deep here. And then you're going to come down like Shar here. And then she's going to use her core to lift her up. She's not going to collapse her heart. Because if you keep your heart lifted out, it'll force you to use your core. You can't keep your heart lifted without using your core to lift you. So she's exhaled down like that. Then core strength lifts her up as she fills her lungs. Yeah? Like a pranic windmill. Developing deep core vitality, core pranic energy. Every inhale fills the lungs. Make the breath, touch your blood. Don't make the bread touch your blood. Stretch up and relax. All right, good. Come sitting, have some water. Good job, everybody. I'm not gonna lie, I love bread. I love me some bread. Lucy was like, just walked back in. What happened? Why are you talking about bread? But I'm not gluten-free. I love some good bread. Anyhow. Tis the season here in the Northern Hemisphere. Heavier, nurturing foods. Like holiday type foods. The healthy versions of them, of course. But when the winter is here, then it's where you increase warmth and moisture and heaviness and, more that type of vata balancing foods. And then we can go through the winter feeling really good and cozy and strong. And then when the spring comes around, if you ate your fair share of pumpkin pie, you can make totally healthy pie. If you're using good stuff, like you get pie for breakfast, it's what's wrong with sweet potatoes, and healthy, grains or whatever you eat. But there's a way to do all of it. And laying off the sugar so much. Like sugar is a real problem in our world, and so and then you kind of like get rid of it for the most part in the diet, at least too much of it, and then you have some sugar, and after a while you'll feel repulsed by it. It's like, it's too sweet. That's good, because you become so sweet inside. You don't need as much sugar. Maybe that's what's happening. I don't know. I haven't had sugar in a long time. I think it works really slowly for me. So, but what we're going to be doing here is called purifying the density of the subtle nature of the psyche, so that our natural kind of brightness can shine. And it's a nice time. It's a nice time to do that. And here we're in the first of 2 eclipses. And here this eclipse this evening with the Shakti of purification. So let's use it. It's going to purify us one way or another. So why don't we get involved and be helpful and not go through it subconsciously or unconsciously, when then purification can be more challenging. But if you're actively involved in like helpful purification, it's a blissful experience. So I always am reminded at eclipses how advantageous it is to live like a yogi. Because when your main endeavor there is, and what I mean by yogi is one who is working to pierce the hypnotism and to dwell in the field of more and more reality. Well, the eclipses remind us that, okay, this is a very helpful time in that endeavor. It's not such a helpful time. They always say don't start an important thing on an eclipse day. Try not to conceive on an eclipse day or that type of thing. But if you do, you're going to have a really kind of probably, far out child. And that'll be the karma and the dharma of that being. So it's not a bad thing. These are just suggestions that people make. And astrology is guilty of creating all sorts of fearful superstitions, by the way. And so I think it's really important to not indulge fearful superstitions, because let's see if we can discover if at the center of this thing is love. And if at the center of this thing is love, what's to fear? And of course, we're going to have fears. But if we can keep recalibrating that, and that's what a good practice does, that's what's a good use of an eclipse time. And then that's why over the winter solstice time, we spend several days in a row doing this stuff. It's like, let's get the real good oil change on the solstices, because that will carry us along for months afterwards. And so if it's taking enough significant amount of time, and it's not that much time, a few days, to where the primary thing that is getting our attention is the enjoyment of Dharma practice, the enjoyment of meditation practice, the enjoyment of yoga practice, the enjoyment of kind of uncovering our beautiful selves. We're going to have often plenty of resistance to doing that, even though once we do it, we tend to love it, and we tend to have an amazing time. And by the time it's even just halfway over, it's like we can't wait till the next one. But there's almost always a field of resistance to doing it, because there's going to be parts of us that are definitely purified away. But those are just parts of us that they're not real parts of us. They're subconscious, emotional, mental desire patterns. And so I always think and I experience emotions, thoughts, feelings. That's living energy. And just like all other living energy, they want to survive. So if you pull up a piece of wood and there's all the termites there, they're scurrying away, those termites, say what you want about them, but they want to survive. They're living things. And so when you have these unhelpful emotional patterns or thinking patterns or desire patterns, and we have both helpful and unhelpful. The helpful ones are the ones that are helping us blossom and grow more and more into our true self. The unhelpful ones are keeping us limited by older conditionings and older hypnosis that has come from who knows where. Over sometimes through our upbringing that we have awareness and recollection of, the types of schools we went to, types of religious upbringing we may have grown up in, and then some of it's totally mysterious. And does it come from previous lifetimes? Who knows? I think probably, but that's just what I think. But it doesn't actually matter, because what only matters is we're endeavoring to be happy. And that we can verify for ourselves. We don't need anybody's philosophy or religious beliefs to tell us whether we're becoming happy or not. And if we're honest with ourselves, sometimes easier said than done. So that's all. That's what I love about all of this. It's purifying away that which is creating obstruction to our goodness. And and that's simple, and it needs to be simple, because everything else is really complicated. Our emotions are really complicated. Our mind and mental, the psyche, and all its aspects and facets and tattvas, it's really kind of complicated stuff. Love is simple. Goodness is simple. Warmth is simple. Happiness is simple. So yes, we might have to swim through some of the matrix of like uncovering things and using our kind of wisdom sword and our intelligence to unpack things and unlock things. But at the end of the day, where's the love? And that'll keep us human and grounded in it. Okay? So you'll either love this next meditation or profoundly despise it. Either way is fine. It's one that I love, and one that many of you are somewhat familiar with. Maybe maybe it will feel like an old friend. Maybe it'll feel like a former enemy. So what you're going to be doing is your breath is going to be through the O-shaped mouth. Okay? It's an 11-minute experience. Okay? After this 11 minutes, you'll lay down. Then we come up into this final meditation that will take all of this work and prana that we're working, the kind of clarity that this helps us to generate and experience, and then we can really work with it and make sure we're turning it into good bliss, good love, good heart. Okay? What you're going to do is like this, O-shaped puckered mouth. You inhale, left hand is on top of the right. Then you exhale and it comes back down to here. Okay? Eyes will be closed, and it goes to the rhythm of the mantra. Every exhale, you use the navel and the diaphragm to make it a powerful exhalation. You may need to bring up your warrior a little bit. And as you do so, you know the real warrior, the master, knows how to bring up the energy of their fire while being emotionally relaxed. Centered. Keep going. Purifying the density of the psyche and magnetic field to brighten your shine, brighten our mind. The body feels a lightness, but you have to pass through, I'm sure, some threshold of heavy, threshold of I can't, threshold of resistance, emotional difficulty. Whatever it is, see if that point you can then deepen the breathing. And try to keep going.
deepen the breathing. Refocus, recommit to your concentration. Listen to the sound of the breath. Every breath is precious, every breath counts. You might need to draw the sword. Inhale deep. Interlock the hands and stretch up through the spine. Lift up through the pelvic floor. And release your shoulder blades and stretch your knuckles up to the ceiling. Stretch up. And then stretch around. Just very gently. It's very subtle. And then through the mouth, exhale. Inhale deep. Mulaband. Release the shoulders. Now touch your knuckles to the ceiling. And then rotate gently around. And then exhale. Beautiful. One last time. Suspend the breath and rectum, sex organ, navel. Release the shoulder blades. Extend through the spine. Touch the knuckles to the ceiling. Stretch up and then rotate around. And like a cannon through the mouth. Relax. And as you're ready, make your way onto your backs.
हर प्रभ तेरिया किते गुनो असंख अवगुण मेरिया हम अवगुण भरे एक गुण नाही अमृत छाड़ बिखे बिख खाही माया मोह परम पै भूले सुतदारा स्यों प्रीत लगाए एक उत्तम पंथ सुनियो गुर संगत तेह मिलंत जंत्रा सुमिटाए एक अरदास भाट कीर्त की
Rotate your wrists and your ankles. And then rub your palms and make some heat and rub the soles of the feet. Make some heat and then cat stretch. lot changes in our body, even on just a full moon. Full moons sometimes are emotional, sometimes they're more intense, sometimes, and if for more watery, sensitive people, it's apparent. And then you add an eclipse, our bodies go through lots of changes, rock a few times and come up, so it's always good to nurture ourselves. Could you fill this with regular water? Final part here, okay? It's very beautiful. I think you'll enjoy it. We're not going to be doing it for long. So what you're going to do is this Gyan wisdom seal again. Jupiter to the thumb, index to the thumb. And then the palms facing forward. And they're at the height of about your shoulders. The eyes will be 9/10 closed. The other 3 fingers are pointing up and relatively engaged. So there's a pelvic floor lift that helps your heart stay lifted. And the eyes are only 1/10 open, just allowing a touch of light in as you will relax your gaze in the third eye space. And just do your best. And then the breath is called the Trinity breath. It's a 2-stroke inhalation through puckered lips, and then a 1-stroke exhalation through the nose. I'll guide it. Like, just like that. The rhythm, but sensitive and sensual. Puckered lips, a heart open, meditative gaze. Every exhale, draw your navel in. See if you can keep your body beautifully still. It's really a lovely posture. There's a regal, majestic quality to us that these meditations help to kind of activate. We can experience our deep worth our deep value, our deep purpose. Not in some intellectual way. We can feel it. We don't need anyone else's verification. Creating a new hypnotic rhythm. It's called Breaking the Piscean Trance. Breaking the trance of the last 2,000 years. Into a new world, a returning into where our experience reigns supreme. Knowledge without experience lacks wisdom. Just a couple minutes left. Purifying anything available that is kind of hindering our blossoming heart and our brilliant creativity. And that's why we love the rhythm. You get in a rhythm, it'll take you beyond the head into our heart. Inhale through the mouth. Suspend it for a moment and become perfectly still and like an empty vessel, spaciousness, expansiveness, and deep calm. Hold the position, exhale. Now
press the palms into a powerful prayer pose. Pressing the palms together, center of your chest. Inhale deep. And press the palms with all your strength. Lift the pelvic floor and press the palms so deep that it almost makes them shake. Maybe it does make them shake. Lift the mulaband. And then through the nose, exhale. Inhale deep. Lift the pelvic floor, draw the navel in, and with all your inner strength, press the two palms. Hold the position, exhale. And final time, inhale deeply. From the inside of you, put all your inner strength. Press the palms together. Squeeze deeply the spine. Concentrate the prana. Exhale. Now relax into a very nice meditative space. And just for about 60 seconds, just dwell, no intention. Allow yourself to just exist and to be and to enjoy the feel. Beautiful. Raise your arms up like so. Stretch them and then shake them a little bit. And have a little sip of water. There's a great yogi of Tibet, Patru Rinpoche, who was a nomadic, wandering yogi, highly revered master. And then there's a fun story of him where he comes across another, a village person who is asking for his advice. He's revered when he comes around. It's like everybody notices and asking his advice. And his simple was don't ruminate on the past. Don't anticipate the future. Don't cogitate with the present moment, disturbing it. He says, allow mind. I like how they phrase that. Allow mind to be just as it is. Then he says, without that, he says, beyond that, there's not a damn thing. And that became known as Patru Rinpoche's famous not a damn thing teaching, which I love. So simple, but executing it is something totally different. You can't execute that with your willpower. You can't say, okay, let me not cogitate on the past. You can, of course, and that does help. You can notice when you're ruminating on the past, that is. K2 energy is overtaken. When the south node of the eclipse, and Rahu is causing us to be obsessive about the future, anticipating the future. But all of this disturbs the prana in the body. But if on some sort of regular occasion, if it's not every day, then maybe it's once a week. You can concentrate the prana in your nervous system. You won't have to use your willpower. It'll draw your mind into a space where it can be relaxed and you can be comfortable with things as they are. And then they'll naturally change
without us having to be obsessing about them or depressed about the life we used to have. That's never coming back, by the way. But something better is coming. It's definite. And so, but we need to make sure that we're operating from that space where we notice it. And that's what this is all about. That returning to a new life, a new light. And that's what winter solstice is all about. That's why the winter solstice has been celebrated as one word, observed, but not in a religious sense, but just understanding the physics of what's going on. And that since the summer solstice, the light is a little less every day. And when you get to the December 21, it's in the northern hemisphere, the light you've gone to what they call the shortest day of the year, the darkest day of the year. There's an energetic reality, there's a pranic reality to that. And then so when you hit the winter solstice, it's when the first day where now the day is longer than yesterday. And so it's the physics return, the physical return to light. And so that's always a good idea, because living on this planet is no joke. Living in human bodies is no joke. It's nice to pay attention, and it's nice to make sure that we're maintaining the things that are worth maintaining. And the things that are worth maintaining are the things that are going to continue along with us in this life and beyond. And so are we really prioritizing our happiness? Well, we can look at our life and see. What are the things that we're consistently doing that is helping us be healthier and happier? And we only can do our best. So we just notice where we are and what can we do. Because you have, the thing is, that's empowering. Is that each one of us has the power to be able to improve our life if we want to. Starting from wherever it is that we are right now. And that is a never-ending thing. That's what Nanak, in that beautiful stanza that Simrat was singing in that song that we were meditating to, Nanak Bhagata Sada Vigas. Vigas means bliss. He said these devotees, these lovers, he says, are forever. Those who are living in the dwelling in the current of love. Therefore, vigas is usually translated as bliss. But what that word vigas has, its connotation is it blossoms infinitely. It forever blossoms and blooms. So it's not a state that then plateaus somewhere. It's a love that continues to grow and continues to deepen and continues to blossom. That's what human life is all about to me. And that's what we're here to do. And sometimes there's very difficult circumstances that we have in our life and suffering. And those too, when we have that inner vitality, those are sometimes the most helpful experiences that cause us to blossom, because our suffering purifies away that which causes our suffering. Sometimes we have to go through difficult experiences to shine a light on the things that are causing us to be miserable. And then when you see it, the medicine in it is being able to see it. It's not comfortable. It's a grieving process. But you come out of it so much happier and so much yourself. And so that's why I think it's prioritize the taking care of your mind, taking care of your body, taking care of your prana, so that, because we can't control all the circumstances that are going to happen to us, but we can take care of our essential energy, and we can prioritize our happiness. All of us can, whatever, and it's going to look different for all of us. And then you can see realistically that you're doing less of ruminating on the past, baby steps. You're less worrying about the future. And you're more, have just a kind of a vitality that's able to hold your mind in a space of nice content, relative content. And that allows you to be intuitive. The more the mind is worrying, the less the intuition is available. The more the mind is stuck in the past, the less the intuition is available, because intuition relies on presence. And so you can't have great presence if the mind is subconsciously still dragging you from with the bags from the past, or kind of speeding you up too much into something that's yet to come. And so that's the beauty of working with your magnetism. It's not intellectual. It's intellectual to help us understand it and help us know how to practice wisely and know how to pay attention to the things that are important. But it's not intellectual in the experience of it. The experience of it is a field of your heart, in a field of a feeling, in a deep, visceral feeling of your sense of inner purpose. And that's not a vocation. Your purpose is not your job or your business or your career. The purpose is, you would have to write a poem to express it, and even that would fall short, but it might be a beautiful poem. Because it's beyond our words what this is, who we are, what it all is. But that's what's so wonderful about it. So, don't anticipate the future, but I do want you to get out your calendars. And I want you to consider and to check, to see if you might be able to free your calendar up starting the evening of Friday, December 17th, until Tuesday morning, December 21. I know that's a big ask. I mean, that's many days. And it's Christmas time if you're celebrating that, or some other holidays, and there's families, oh my God. But that's not till the next week, actually. And what's really happening also, Christmas is really happening. I'm sorry, I'm not criticizing Christmas. I like Christmas too. The winter solstice is definitely happening. And that Tuesday morning is the moment of the winter solstice. So we're doing, once again this year, which I thought was like the most fabulous thing last year, is this winter solstice experience where we spend, and you don't have to do everything or be with us live for every session if you can't. If you can, that's fantastic and totally ideal. Some people, they will get with a friend and, rent an Airbnb or get together at one of the person's house and do it together. Some people, they will just do it on their own on their iPhone, but it's a cool experience. This is no Zoom room thing. We always recommend use the best kind of audio and video you can, because it's an immersive experience. It'll really communicate. And so we start Friday evening it's 8 sessions in total. Friday evening, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, Monday morning, Monday afternoon. Now we're asking for a weekday. It's a big ask, but I think you'll find this is worth carving space for. And then final session, Tuesday, early morning, winter solstice. Early morning, West Coast time. All the details for you are on this webpage that you can see. And we're going through the 9 archetypes of the Navgraha, meaning the 9 major kind of planetary forces of session 1, light of Saturn. Saturn is Muladhara chakra. It's your sense of security. Its tendency towards fear. It's your sense of inner attachment as well. The Saturn will always show you where you're attached to things. And that's never fun, but it does improve your life if you're open to it. We all would like to improve our life. And when we say improve our life, it's not improve our life like, well, if I have a shot of espresso, that improves my life. I mean, I love espresso. And you get up in the morning and you got your food and you get to have it and you're more social with your friends. But that goes away. The type of improvement that Saturn brings to your life is long-lasting. And so then you have the session 2, Saturday morning, light of Jupiter. Jupiter is Guru, Jupiter is Brihaspati, Jupiter is wisdom, Jupiter is prosperity, Jupiter is expansion. Jupiter has just gone into Aquarius. It's going to help us out. I'm confident of it. And so So session 3 is light of Mars. Mars is your get up and go energy. Mars is your willpower. Mars is your ability to light up and give life to your inner fire in a healthy expression. Session 4 is light of Venus, the heart chakra. It is creativity, it is sensuality, it is subtlety, it is passion. And see how it takes you through all the layers that this is not a course on astrology. Sure, we're using some of that, but it's a course of yoga and practice and meditation, and not learning about these things, but actually recalibrating these things, bringing those energies alive into the experience with us so that we harmonize Saturn. Everybody has it. You harmonize your root center, you harmonize the second center, you harmonize the third, you harmonize the fourth. And if you go all the way up and down, then every part of our life benefits. So that's what I mean, it's a deep oil change, chronically though. Okay, and then you go into the Mercury Buddha, is the power, learning how to make your word bond. When your word is bond, where you can communicate, giving light to dynamic communication. It's really cool stuff. Then you go to the moon, and this is about learning how to dwell in an infinite home, because one of the things the moon represents. It's a good time to have pleasant feelings for the moon right now, as the moon is being eaten by Rahu. And so the moon represents our mother. The moon represents our home. That's where we get our first sense of security. Now we're talking about emotional security. Our sense of foundation to be able to blossom comes from that. We need to feel cozy. We need to feel safe emotionally. And so that's what we mean by learning to dwell in an infinite home. That's a human skill that's worth cultivating. Because one day you're going to shed this body like the rest of us. Will you feel like you've lost your home? Or you feel like you're going deeper into your home? It's a good question. Which would be more blissful? Okay, then you go to the sun, which is Atma, which is soul, which is Lion Leo energy. Your sense of pride. What are you proud of? Standing in that. Feeling confident enough in who you are and what you're about that you can shine that. And then you go finally into the winter solstice morning, which will be mostly like a fantastic meditation after going through all of these on the winter solstice moment. It's called Light of Your Ascendant. And that's tying it all together and saying, we're going into this new year. We're going into this new phase. This is much more than a new year. It's a new phase of our existence here. And we're taking enough time that's substantive enough in time, because this was fantastic, but now we're done. When you're doing it and you're spending enough time in it, you can really make a paradigm leap. If you give a weekend to yourself where this is the predominant thing, like you might miss an episode of Succession. You might miss, but it's going to be on your DVR when you get back, and you're going to enjoy it even more. So, or whatever your deal is, you know what I mean? I'm going to miss some important basketball games, I'm sure. I'll watch them when I get home. So we're going to have a very limited amount of people that can be there in person, by the way, but we'll let you know if anything opens up with that, because it's a very small, limited group. But the vast majority of everyone will be doing it virtually and from home. And like I say, it's a cool experience, and you are warmly invited. Would love for you to join in. Here's the details. All of it's on your webpage here. But we want to make sure you know about it, know the details. If you're considering like, okay, I do, if this feels resonant with you, you're considering you want to come. We have an amazing team. If you have any questions, we have a beautiful staff of people who are always really helpful and eager to help you out and answer your questions if you have any. The regular price for it is, for the whole virtual experience, $498. But right now, the early bird price is only $249. So it's a really good deal. And if it helps you out, there's a payment plan, and you can break it up into 2 payments of $139. And again, all the details you want to know, you can read about all the sessions. You can, there's plenty for you to check out if you want to know more. If you're already feeling the call and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this. Oh, and by the way, even if you can't do it with us live, each session is immediately available on demand. So we have people all over the world that do this in all sorts of different time zones. Not everybody can be there live. So some people with these types of things are like, you just got to be there live. It doesn't matter where you are. What we do as of now is you can do it at any time on demand with each session. So if you miss one, you can come back to it later. You can't do it on that Monday. You can do them in the evening or the next day, work through them throughout that next week. You're trying to escape from your family over Christmas time, and you go into the room and you got an hour where you can do some Kundalini yoga practices. So that's what's up. And if you want to join in, the button is here on the page. You just click through. That takes you over to the registration page. It just takes a moment. Super easy. You don't have to be tech savvy to do this. It'll guide you through, and just takes a moment. And we'd love to have you a part of that. So, but before we leave together, let's properly close this class. And I want to wish you all a very happy eclipse season and holiday season. And I want to thank you for spending your time with us this evening, and for being part of this. Okay, take your hands to prayer pose. Bringing in our good wishes for our families, our friends, loved ones, and then even all beings everywhere, for happiness.
May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on. May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on. May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on. Guide your way on. Guide your way on. Guide your way on. Guide your way on.
Thanks so much, everybody. Thank you, Aki. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. This was a great evening. And see you soon. Solar Eclipse webcast is happening 2 weeks on December 3rd. That's a Friday evening, 5:30 p.m. Join and invite your friends, and take care of yourself between now and then. Have a beautiful night. See you soon.
I'm so grateful to be at home and to have a magic space and it's really helped me carve out my boundaries.
You know, meditating and doing yoga by yourself can sometimes be it's difficult to stay motivated.
I just wanted to say that the energy that has been radiating from the virtual Zoom has been electrifying.
The effects that I was having just at home by myself practicing were tremendous. I mean, the bliss and the real love of just living life and being around other people was palpable.
We all need the consciousness to change. We all need the introspection, and what you're offering is guiding so many people to do it. So
his love, his kindness, his wisdom, his insight, like all of it is just such an incredible blend.
Simra and Jai really cultivate, and all of the team cultivate such a beautiful experience.
But it turned out kind of fun. I could do the virtual from anywhere I wanted.
In a lot of ways, you see, regardless of whether you take this all literally or not, this is the training of how to develop the mind to become a happy person. Do you get that out of it? And that's the process we're going through right now. How do I continue to go through my process so that I now have the capacity to orient myself towards helping others?
Kundalini is amazing. It really helps you to be more grounded, and it really helps de-stress and takes away your anxiety and your fears. It's such an amazing tool to really become freer as a person and to become more of yourself and get comfortable with yourself.
So that's what a householder yoga life is about, is you're using the rajas of your life, the activity of your life, the stress of your life, the turbulence of your mind, and you're channeling it into more vitality, more consciousness, more love. That is the warrior way.
The combination of the intellectual capacity, the analytical capacity, the way Jaidev explains things to me made a lot of sense. I don't like to do things out of the blue just because somebody says so. And the teachings are very profound from my perspective, and it resonated with me.
Your projection and your mental attitude creates the context for the stress of your life. The whole idea is moving beyond worry and fear. But that's not stuffing the worries and the fears that you have. It's learning to develop the type of character, develop the type of nervous system, type of mental caliber that you know how to not indulge worries. Okay? It takes a lot of power to be able to do that, but fortunately, you have a lot of power. Question is, do you grab hold of it? That's what this immersion is about.